Can you share that story with the audience about really what triggered you here and what you realized through your own experiences that got you to this point?
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to share kind of the transparency of what I went through because, it's a long story. It's the story of my life, but to give some cliff notes and we can tease it out as much as we want. The first time I was put on a psychiatric drug, I was 17 years old and I was just doing a physical for high school sports participation purposes. So I did the physical and I don't even remember like what I said, but something to the effect of, struggling with kind of depression or seasonal affective, whatever I said. And this is my primary care. No blood work, no evaluation, no referral to a mental health professional or psychiatrist, nothing. Just, hey, 17-year-old senior in high school that's trying to figure out life and figure out who the hell you are. Here's Zoloft, right? Like hopefully your, genitals don't fall off and, you don't go kill yourself. So I started the Zoloft when I was 17. That made me feel worse, apathy, anhedonia, just like a space out zombie. So I stopped that drug. And then it was about 4 years later, which I went through a lot in those 4 years. I actually joined the Navy for the SEAL program, which was my life goal through high school. I was, trying to be a real life GI Joe and go shoot terrorists for a living. And, apparently the universe had other plans for me. So I was medically discharged because they found I had a hernia while I was in boot camp. So that felt like my identity and life goal ripped away. And on top of that, hindsight 2020, like knowing what I know now about functional medicine and, physiology and biochemistry, I can now see I had all these underlying kind of root cause factors that contribute to what we categorize as mental illness, which I think is out in a very outdated model. So I was going through this whole crisis and I very quickly pivoted from the Navy SEAL thing and I was trying to get back into the military. That wasn't getting me anywhere. It's hard enough to get into the military and spec ops the first time, trying to do it again after you just got medically discharged and all the paperwork. And recruiters, they don't care. It's just filling quota, hitting the numbers. So I got really depressed. And so during that time, I needed a purpose. I needed something to do with myself. So I became a personal trainer because I was kind of at this crossroads of either like go be a college kid on my parents' dime, which didn't resonate with me, or start working. And so I was scrubbing toilets, folding towels at my local gym. And because I was such a workout fiend, everybody knew me, including the personal trainer manager. So he was like, hey kid, like, why don't you get certified as a trainer? We'll bring you on. We'll see how you do. And honestly, as I got exposed to exercise physiology, nutritional biochemistry, and all the cool metabolic science behind health and fitness, I fell in love with it. But I actually was really starting to struggle more and more with my own mental health. Like the more I learned about the nutrition, the more orthorexia I developed, right? And the more I got into bodybuilding, the more out of shape and immobile I got, right? So there's all these fallacies in fitness culture and fitness trends. So when I was 21, I actually found myself back in front of my primary care physician and reporting some of the same symptoms of depression and seasonal affective. So that time, again, no blood work, no lab testing, but here's a dopamine drug instead of a serotonin drug. Let's see if that one works. Because that's a psychiatric model. Just throw out different nootropic psychiatric drugs, find that right cocktail that keeps you balanced. So I started the Wellbutrin, and he did refer me to a clinical psychology and psychiatry clinic. So I went there and underwent, formal testing, which was subjective questionnaires, all subjective, nothing objective, no physiological investigation. And I was formally diagnosed with major depressive disorder and ADHD. And it was literally 2 weeks later that I woke up in the intensive care unit breathing out of a tube because I'd intentionally overdosed on my Wellbutrin. And I was in a, medically induced coma for like 3 nights. They pumped my stomach. My liver enzymes were in the thousands. So it was the first time anybody had done any lab testing. And after I was done and medically stable in the intensive care unit, because it was deemed a suicide attempt and I was a threat to myself, I was transferred to an inpatient psychiatric ward. And I asked what my medical rights were. Like, can I refuse treatment? Which you can, but if you're deemed a threat to yourself, that's revoked and you get sent to an asylum. So then they were basically like, it would be better for you to just play along, right? Jump through the hoops. So I did. And then I was discharged and I had to do 9 hours of intensive group therapy with a social worker every week for 6 weeks as part of my discharge plan. I was trying to go back to school, trying to go back to work. Everybody knew what was going on. And I wish that was my rock bottom, but actually life got a little bit worse from there, related to a toxic relationship and all sorts of crazy things. So that was a huge impressionable journey that I went through. And that transformed me from just being like a fitness nutrition buff to then studying psychology, studying narcissism, gaslighting, disorientation tactics, because I was trying to navigate my way out of a very toxic relationship. And then on top of that, trying to save her and help her with her mental illnesses and her traumas and everything wrong with her, but also trying to save myself and trying to get out of my own depression and whatnot. So that really steered me into functional medicine, with trying to save her, trying to save us. And then as I got deeper in functional medicine, kind of made my rounds, I made a name for myself by knowing a lot about mold and methylation and some of these cool niche subjects. So then from a business perspective and identity in the industry, I had to figure out like, what's my niche? And so I chose, well, I'm the mental and metabolic health guy. So that's like a cliff notes of a full circle, but it was hell to get here, but now I'm in heaven and it's great.